This weekend, only at Macy's, it's our lowest prices of spring. How low? Diamond rings, pendants, and earrings, only $399, originally $1,500. Ninja blenders, now $89.99. And $395 men's designer suits, only $99.99. So if you're wondering why you should shop Macy's lowest prices sale, well, the name pretty much says it all. It's our lowest prices for one weekend only. Starts tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The Three Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Owens Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina.
Welcome to the Three Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only John Has Something to Plug podcast. I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser, and I don't mean that literally. This is the Three Down. I am just completely flabbergasted right now for reasons we do not need to get into.
No. I hit you with a totally offside, terrible visual seconds before we went onto
the air.
Mode,
and then I followed it up with a statement I probably shouldn't have, because it's a statement I always say before we start recording. I say, like, coming at you in 3, 2, 1, and then, anyway. We do have stuff to get to today, as it's been a while since, since you and I have been on here. Last time an episode of this aired was, of course, the 8N Nation podcast, where you and Cullen smashed it, talking about all things curling ahead of the Brier. So I guess we can wrap that up a little bit. Congrats to Brad Jacobs on winning the Brier. Congrats to Rachel Homan on winning Women's Worlds. Congrats to Bruce Mowat, future PEI resident, on winning Men's Worlds. And shame on the Chinese for being a bunch of cheaters.
That's right. You know what? I will say, we need to get Cullen on board with this move Bruce Mowat over to, some Atlantic province. It's not that far of a flight back to Scotland.
No,
I feel like that's really the way to make, domination in curling, right? You can still go to Worlds. You don't have a Brier in the resume, Bruce. Let's make it happen.
I mean, he's probably going to want the Olympic gold first. So for the greater good, next year in Italy, it's probably time for Bruce Mowat to win his gold medal. And then we can be like, hey, you haven't won a Brier yet. I'm just saying. I think it takes a couple years for once you move over to a new country for Curling Canada to accept you. But, maybe exceptions will be made for Bruce Mowat. I don't know. But
especially when the new head of Curling Canada is Scottish.
Yes. I mean, how you can't disappoint who I assume is your hero, right, Bruce Mowat?
Exactly. Come to Canada. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
That's not the only thing we're plugging on this podcast.
No. If you find John Fraser funny, or you dislike John Fraser and have always wanted the opportunity to heckle him mercilessly, you have the opportunity coming up in a few weeks here.
And on a silver platter, on Friday, May the 2nd, as I alluded to on the 8N Nation podcast, I will be taking part in the Kinsman Club of Saskatoon stand-up showdown. It's going to go down TCU Place here in Saskatoon. All donations, all money raised is going to go to the Kinsman Club. 100% tax write-off for you as well. And it's a bunch of us amateur comedians giving our hand at stand-up. We got some great coaches who are also going to perform as well.
Also, there'll actually be some funny people there too.
There will. Well, that's the thing. We brought this up at our first meeting, and I'm like, so you guys are performing, right? Because you don't want to just have 6 people go and flop.
Yeah, it's not open mic at the bar down the street.
No. And actually it's nice because we have a full-on dress rehearsal, coaching session coming up.
Okay, nice, yeah.
I have been working on my material. The crux of it is how much everybody hates me because of the real job that I do.
Yes.
How anybody going into a car dealership has their walls up and they're like, finance, bust out the bear spray, let's go. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it. After having somebody literally breathe down my neck at the grocery store today, there might be a campaign to bring back social distancing as well. I honestly felt the moisture of this man's breath on the nape of my neck.
There's no excuse for that. The grocery store is a big place. Even a small grocery store is relatively large. There is room. I was also out grocery shopping this morning, and I'm never within 10 feet of another person unless I'm waiting in line. at the till or something? Like
nobody is, but once in a while you get that person that forgets that like social distancing was a good thing, and like I'm just scrolling through my Instagram for you, and maybe that's what he was interested looking over my shoulder, because my For You algorithm's pretty dialed in right now.
I mean, lots
golf
of
and barbecue.
Golf and barbecue and lots of random weird sports from Japan and Germany. If it's anything like mine.
Maybe that's why he was curious. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was one of the German betting things that you and I have already sent to each other. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. It's something I've never done before, and I enjoy the challenge, but I also have thick enough skin that if you buy a table and you want to come and just shit talk, go right ahead as well.
I feel like you will thrive in that environment of even if they start shit talking you, especially if you know the person, you're going to fire back and it's going to be great.
Oh, 100%. Like I am so ready for that. So, you buy the tables are on sale right now. There is some talk that they might go to some individual ticket sales. It's going to be a good night. Great time. I am still looking for sponsors. I'm still looking for one of the star sponsor tables. I had a deal on one of those, but it fell through. So,
sales guy couldn't finish the deal.
It was more I closed the deal, and people went, "Do we really want him wearing our logoed sweatshirt up there?" In fairness, like again, everything's clean. I know not to get canceled.
I don't know. I've heard you can't do comedy these days.
Oh God. Right, you just can't be an asshole or a racist or a sexist, right? So, talking about guys breathing down the nape of my neck, I do go on about how much I hate Rochester, New York. So, like, that might get me canceled in Rochester,
which I don't think is going to disappoint you.
No.
I don't imagine you were ever planning on going back there anyway.
No. The line I once said on a broadcast when again I was in mail it in mode for my last couple games before I went full time to the car business was, "What else are you going to do on Rochester on a Saturday night? Get mugged? Oh wait." So it's going to be a good time. Buy a table. If you can't buy a table, what I've said is a pledge to anybody that donates. Let me know that you've donated, and I will find a way to get you a recording of the set. So probably bring somebody as a +1, get them to record my set, and I will distribute that to anybody who donates but can't make it. So looking at you, Jock, Dave. Grammy's already donated. Grammy was the first one to donate,
yep.
Of course. Mom's already donated. So
that's good. Yep.
Yeah, that's the other 5 of you, okay? Need a couple bucks here, all right?
Absolutely. There's going to be a new guy in the CFL looking for sponsors as well for the league.
Yes.
So we will talk about the new CFL commissioner, Stuart Johnson, as I completely skipped over the sort of what we normally talk about in the episode portion of this. But that's okay.
We're a little rusty. It kind of went off the rails.
It's pre-training camp season. I don't know. Whatever you want to call this time of year. It's a whole bunch of nothing before everything starts happening at once season.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, okay. Yep.
So we will talk about that. We will talk about the Riders signing Logan Ferland forever and giving him a good chunk of money as well, and perhaps a couple other little things. Before we get into all of that, because it is a lovely Tuesday morning here in Regina and Saskatoon, we're going to skip over the whole What's in the Glass of the Pile of Bones Brewing Company.
No.
I can tell you, I'm just having a Caliber coffee. So
okay, I am, because I've been waiting for this. Since I got it. So this has been waiting since St. Patrick's Day to talk about on this podcast.
Okay.
I am having a Category 12 Deviation Dry Irish Stout.
Oh, that's the one you like, eh? Oh, yeah. You sent me the picture of that, right?
Yeah. It's out of Victoria, BC. A good friend of the program, friend of mine, curling coach Jay Price, borrowed my truck and left some beer in it. And it was almost St. Paddy's Day. And although I'm not the biggest stout guy, come St. Paddy's Day, you gotta have one. Honestly, it's only 4.5%, hence why I'm drinking it on a Tuesday morning before I nap. The joys of days off. It's a stout. It's simple. It tastes a lot like a Guinness, but doesn't have that real heavy mouth feel to it. Really enjoyable, really good, and Canadian made, which of course should be your number one priority these days.
You should be able to find that one fairly regularly around the province. I know we have it at my store in Regina. Beyond that, so I assume once something's special ordered in the province, it's usually pretty easy to keep getting it, is all I know.
Yeah, I'm certain Jay got it from a Sobeys Liquor, either Preston or Stonebridge here in Saskatoon.
Sounds likely. Yes.
So now that I've thrown you off because I did have something in the glass,
Mm-hmm.
we're all over the road today.
Oh, this is a Hall of Fame episode. People are going to be enthralled by how on the ball we are on this one.
We've talked curling. You didn't know I was drinking a beer at 10:57 in the morning, which is all. Let's just make this clear. That's exceptionally rare for me unless it's Bonspiel season. Let's just make that clear. This is not a regular thing. Okay, feel like I have to say that.
John is a very functioning alcoholic, but not that functioning.
That's right. Yes.
It's probably not how I should have phrased that, but
whatever.
The CFL does have a new commissioner. His phrasing will hopefully be a little better than ours, and it'll hopefully be a little better than the previous commissioner, and Randy Ambrosie. Stuart Johnson has been named the new commissioner of the CFL. He will take over in about a week or so here. And it's an interesting hire. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim good or bad one way or the other. Right. I think it's impossible to know at this point. I think especially after some other hires, it's important that we hear from him first, and then more importantly, even on top of that, we see the action and see what the vision is for the CFL under him. But it comes from an interesting place, considering he was the president of TSN for a very long time.
Yes.
And we do know that TSN and the CFL work very closely together. They are essentially one entity. And it's just interesting on a lot of different levels, this move, because, the guy's been a Bell lifer. Like, he started as an intern there however long ago, and he's worked his way all the way up to president of the network, which is insane in itself, quite frankly.
Super
to start
cool.
At that level of broadcasting and work all your way up says a lot about the guy in terms of, I'm sure, his abilities and his abilities to work with people, which is going to be an important part of this job, because I don't think you can move your way up in that world without saying the right things to the right people. And I assume then that is going to be a very good strength of his, hopefully, when dealing with specifically the 2 or 3 men behind the scenes that actually run the CFL. And so it'll be interesting to see. I think that'll be sort of one of the biggest tests of this hiring in terms of whether this is revolutionary and the CFL is really taking a big step forward and giving their commissioner some power and some autonomy in the role, and this is going to be a big step forward for the league, or its status quo will be kind of, we see how that balance plays out fairly early on, I think.
Yeah, from his background, he almost seems like a combination of the last 2 guys, right?
Mm-hmm. He's like, Jeffrey Orridge has the TV background, but he was TVO?
Yeah,
he was something that has absolutely nothing to do with sports. So.
Exactly, right? Like Jeffrey Orridge kind of fell on his face because he had nothing to do with sports, while Randy Ambrosie's biggest fault was he was basically all about sports and didn't know how to get deals done. It seems like Johnson is
we talked about this before, Randy Ambrosie's biggest issue, and I think JC wrote about it well on the site on 3downnation.com, was if Randy Ambrosie never said a word,
yes,
and you just looked at what happened during his tenure, you'd say, okay, it wasn't, the greatest tenure of all time, but it was decent, it was fine, it's pretty good.
100%. Yep.
He talked out his ass, and it was he was very, overpromise, underdeliver. When Stuart Johnson, if he can underpromise and overdeliver, his reign will look like a smashing success in comparison.
Well, the guy knows football, and he knows the entertainment side of it, which I think is huge, being with TSN forever. He knows sales, because before becoming president of TSN, he was head of their sales department with 1,000 people, right? Like, you're a national sales manager. That's not an easy role to do. So you're right. He knows how to talk to people. He knows the game. Now, my only fear is, we've talked about it here, how some people in the TSN employ think that the way that they do their broadcasts is the best thing ever and shouldn't be touched.
Yes.
I'm hoping that Johnson doesn't feel the same way, because I do think that what they present has become stale.
Yeah.
Some of the camera stuff they're doing is awesome. Like some of the presentation stuff, fantastic. But the panel is meh. The lack of pregame run-up is like you're airing a half-hour pregame show for every Winnipeg Jets game on TSN3, right? Like, I don't understand why games don't have pregame shows and you put some content into that, right? So I'm hoping that he is of the we can make this better ideal rather than the, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing ever, as you and I have beefed with people on Twitter who seem to think that, yeah, this is the greatest broadcast of all time. Meanwhile, inside NBA is a thing. So
yeah, well, and the big change on that is, of course, Paul Graham retired. He was the head of content. He was basically the guy in charge of what you see on TV for the longest time and how you see it. So he's gone now. There's a new person in charge. I forget her name, sorry, but everything I've heard is she's very open and looking for change. So
which is great, right?
Yeah.
So, and as long as the CFL is open to that, what I would like to see is, and you're seeing it more and more, like, you know, again, us being big curling fans, where they have people that are producing good content, right? Like our guy John Cullen, on social media doing great stuff. Like, I don't think I think in today's day and age, you almost need a full-time socials reporter from the league to do some reporting, to tell some stories, and then integrate that with TSN, right? There's your pregame content. So I think it can be done from an entertainment standpoint, because I think you need to get eyeballs on the games to get bums in the seats, right? And if there's anybody that I optimistically think can do that, it is Johnston. And who knows? Again, the guy's obviously got business acumen, going from intern to president of TSN, and he was the president when they basically gave up on hockey rights and are still the number one sports broadcaster in the country. So that's a pretty tumultuous era he led TSN through. Yeah. You know, they expanded the 5 channels thinking they're getting the NHL deal back. Well, then Rogers comes in with their billions, and TSN's still number one. So, I think the resume is great, but you're right. I think it's tough to judge. I'm optimistic about the hire, though, looking at his resume and looking at his past.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be challenged right away, and we're going to get a pretty big sense of things pretty quickly. We're kind of in that range right now where it is probably, we're into sort of broadcast deal time.
Yes.
The deal expires in 2026. Rogers in the NHL, as you mentioned, just re-upped again for another 12 years. Surprised me a little bit. I thought maybe Bell and Rogers would just split the cost on that one, considering I felt like it kind of hit a ceiling for the NHL in Canada. But nonetheless, 100%. I think they're still going to sell off a good chunk of it to someone, probably Amazon.
I've already started reading that Amazon, that Prime may get more than one night a week.
Yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, so what's going to happen in the next little bit is, where does the CFL go? And that's going to be sort of his biggest challenge. And the boys on the 3 Down podcast, Dunk, Hodge, and JC talked about this last week, and I'm starting to come around on it. I don't think there's a lot of options available for the CFL.
No.
I think a lot of people have a lot of ideas about them jumping, to Netflix or Prime or. Those are probably the only two. I mean, ask MLS how Apple TV is going.
Yeah, exactly.
The MLS, what? Never heard of it.
Exactly. Again, that I think also came with the revelation that, oh, wow, this is... MLS was like, everybody watched it and then got into better soccer.
This weekend, only at Macy's, it's our lowest prices of spring. How low? Diamond rings, pendants, and earrings, only $399, originally $1,500. Ninja blenders, now $89.99. And $395 men's designer suits, only $99.99. So if you're wondering why you should shop Macy's lowest prices sale, well, the name pretty much says it all. It's our lowest prices for one weekend only. Starts tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
This would be like if we were all watching like Alberta Senior League football all the time.
There is the Alberta Football League. I have watched it. I have covered it in the past, even.
And it's actually quite good. But it's like going, if you were fed nothing but the Alberta Football League, you're probably going to start branching out from that and go, oh, the CFL and NFL are much higher quality games. And I feel like that's what MLS boxed themselves into, right? Yeah. as a whole other aside, but
yeah. And the main point of it was, and you're seeing it kind of with like the WWE on Netflix.
Yes,
is it's moved from a far more American product to a worldwide product.
Yes,
and that's sort of what those guys are looking for, which is fair because they are, they've found a loophole in the system where they're basically allowed to be international broadcasters.
yes.
And so that's kind of where they're going to go. And as much as we love the CFL, it doesn't have that international appeal that these giant streamers are going to want to pay a lot of money for.
No, certainly.
So at this point, you're looking, okay, so they're probably out. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that maybe they don't come for a night a week that they can do a game in Canada. Maybe there's an opportunity for one of them to work with Bell, where Bell basically produces and does all that stuff too, and they just piggyback and throw it on, say, Amazon Prime or something. Maybe that opportunity exists. I don't know. But basically, you're probably looking at a scenario where it's like, okay, I think both sides are going to be like, this is probably best for both of us because TSN needs content in the summer because they have some baseball, but it's all games no one really cares about.
Right.
Rogers is probably not going to spend the money because why would they put the Jays' biggest summer competitor on their airwaves when they own literally everything around the Jays' infrastructure? So,
well, and the NHL now going into June and starting in September.
Like the only reason I could see Rogers doing it is just to try to screw over TSN, essentially.
100%.
But even then, that's probably a lot of money just to do that. So this will probably come to a sort of mutual benefactory agreement here, and it'll be up to Bell Media to figure out how they're going to modernize this in many ways. That includes streaming, and I don't just mean on TSN Direct. I think they have to branch out into some other platform. Like is the option then? I don't imagine Bell is going to want to make a deal with one of the other streamers. So maybe do you simulcast it on Crave? Like I don't know how deep Crave's penetration is into the market per se,
right?
But it's something. And so,
well, here's a wild thought, and as we're talking about streaming, and there's a lot of cord cutters and everything like that.
Yeah. It's not as prevalent of a thing in Canada as it is in the States, even though. So.
No, but it is getting closer.
It is. Yeah. I don't disagree.
To me, the simplest way to do this is, let's face it, way back in the day, you used to be able to get CFL games over the air on CBC. And I'm not saying go back to over the air, but
I mean, we'll see how the election goes.
Right.
Because Mark Carney is promising to beef up the CBC compared to the Conservatives who want to shut it down, basically. Right. This is not a political statement one way or the other. I think most of you know how we fall, but should the Liberals go on to win, CBC suddenly interests me a little bit more if they actually follow through on beefing them up and talking about the idea was that CBC, Mark Carney wants to bring it up to the level of a BBC, to give it more funding, to make it stronger. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, okay, like all that makes sense. I'm for it. But the question is there then money for professional sports again?
Right.
And if there is, could that potentially maybe end up in some CFL circles? Because I think there would be a good fit there. I wouldn't put all of the games on CBC, obviously, but if you could get a game or two a week on there, maybe a playoff game, okay, we're talking.
Here's my crazy thought with streaming.
Yep.
What if you put it someplace that's free? Because you have to get eyeballs back.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think you can put it behind a paywall. I've seen firsthand.
Well, and I mean, that's where CBC comes in, right?
Right. CBC Gem. Right. I mean, if you could stream it on CBC Gem, CBC.ca, fantastic. I mean, even if you don't go with the CBC, just simply say
it should be like a weird sort of thing that I think is like the over-the-air network app should be free.
Agreed.
Like, if I can get CTV over the air for free, why do I need a cable provider to log in to watch CTV.ca?
Well, and that's it. And that's like CBC Gem. But even like, what if TSN just made the games free on TSN, on the TSN app? Like, almost every TV, like every Roku TV, every Apple TV in my house, the only thing that doesn't have a TSN app is my PS5.
Doesn't?
No,
just because you haven't installed it, or doesn't exist?
it doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
Which is because I want to get, like, me being the quality nerd that I am, I want to get as close to true 4K as I can. And the only way to do that is like Amazon Prime on my PS5. Watching hockey, like Monday Night Hockey, off of that is incredible. It'll blow your mind. But if you're TSN, do you not just go, hey, watch the games for free on our TSN app? Then you're getting eyeballs back. Right, the league, you've got the league on your linear TV, which is still, filling those appetites. You put the games for free, because I've seen firsthand with what happens if you go behind the wrong paywall with a professional sports league. Mm-hmm. I can tell you the Bleacher Report thing for the National Lacrosse League did not work out in any sense of the imagination. When you had to pay to get Bleacher Report to watch NLL games.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah,
it was an unmitigated disaster. Yes, are most of the games now behind a paywall on TSN Plus? Yes, they are. But there was also a couple years of free, and you've got your appetizer in the national broadcast as well. So to me,
and I mean, a few months of what is it, like $7 a month for TSN Plus?
I just keep it running all.
No, I know you do, but in theory, like if it was on there and it's just you'd have it for 3-4 months, like it's $20 to watch a whole season, whatever, right?
Exactly. Even if you got rid of your geo restrictions and stuff and just said, hey, boom, $8 a month, you can watch all your CFL games. Like, I think something like that needs to happen before we talk Netflix, Prime.
I think only one of the big boys is going to work if there's a separate agreement where they're basically just picking up the TSN feed.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I don't see any of them actually putting money into broadcasting the product.
No.
And I wouldn't trust either of them to do it well, frankly. Like, the technical side of it would probably be fine. It'd be good. But these guys aren't going to know anything about it.
No, and they would probably hire Turd Ferguson.
Yeah. So, this is kind of where the question that is going to face the future of this league is where it's at, because, the money is increasing everywhere. So the question is going to be, how much will this increase for the CFL, and will it be enough? And, are they able to revolutionize and, sort of grow the audience again? Because I think they kind of have to admit there's probably a block of people they've missed.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And it's on now to try and recapture people younger, like probably the 20-somethings are probably gone at this point. So you're hoping to somehow find a way to capture those people under 18 again.
No, certainly. And the growth of, and you've got a great opportunity, and I speak, personally here, and you see it there's an article on the website talking about how much money the Rough Rider Foundation gave to minor football here in the province, right? Mm-hmm. Football, now that, I don't want to say concussions are gone. They are always going to be a part of our game, right? But
no question.
It is so much safer now than it was 10 years ago. And now with flag football being an Olympic sport, you could viably play flag your entire life.
Yeah.
Right. The same way you could have played U Sports, things like that. Are you gonna be a millionaire off of it? No. But one thing I know here in Saskatoon is a big reason that the Riders give this city and the province so much money is the exponential growth of youth flag football.
Yeah.
So that's your opportunity, that all these kids are walking around in NFL jerseys, because, again, the NFL flag program, incredible program, absolutely love it. The kids get their team jerseys. They think it's so cool. Now's your chance with that generation, because as the cost of everything continues to go up and life gets more expensive, flag football is a cheap and fun option, and the registration numbers are showing that. I can speak. I don't know about Regina. I don't know about anywhere else in the province, but I can speak firsthand in Saskatoon, knowing these guys here. So to me, yeah, you've lost the 20-somethings, but you got a lot of kids that are 10 and under, and that are going to be paying customers one day, and their parents are going to be paying customers, that are really diving headfirst into football, and that's your opportunity.
No, absolutely. One of those kids who probably would have been in a program back in the day, something similar, would have been Logan Ferland. Saskatchewan boy, signed a big extension with the club this week. Probably not that surprising. We'll keep him in green and white through 2027. And a good chunk of the money is actually guaranteed. Justin Dunk reporting on John Hodge reporting down on 3downnation.com. The money for this contract, long story short, he is now one of the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the CFL. Lots of money guaranteed throughout. And frankly, it's hard to argue with it.
100%.
He's a local guy, so there's obviously a lot of inherent value in that. I think
homegrown talent as well.
Yeah, homegrown talent that you want to keep around. And frankly, like I think every successful era of Saskatchewan Roughriders football has included one of those guys. Like you look in the last little while, like there was Gene Mikowski, there was Brennan Labatt, Ben Heenan, and now it's like, okay, now Logan Ferland is now that guy, right? So could be a sign of things to come. But regardless, 100%. I think it's hard to argue with opening the vault for a guy like this when not only obviously the marketing side and the homegrown talent and all that sort of thing, the guy's is darn good. When there aren't too many offensive linemen in the CFL, especially Canadian offensive linemen in the CFL, who you could realistically put at any spot along the offensive line. And he's maybe not necessarily always, in every single position going to be the best offensive lineman on the field.
Right.
But you know that in a pinch, you could literally put him at all 5 spots if you have to.
And we saw that. We saw that last year where he's spent time at all the different spots and was amazing at all of them. And as well, too, for the Riders, like how good of a signing was this from the CJFL?
Mm-hmm.
Like kudos to the CJFL, a league that's constantly disrespected, right?
And yet constantly, I wouldn't say like always pumps out talent, but about every 5-10 years, there's a guy that comes out of there and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like,
100%.
And I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, there are people out there, and this is true of anything, where it's like, university is just not for me. So I'm going to go, work or do whatever, but I'm going to keep playing football, and that's the avenue to do that, right? So
100%, especially if you're not, your plan is you're not going to be a millionaire playing football, but you want to keep playing, and maybe the opportunity falls to you, right?
I mean, Logan Ferland's making about $250,000 a year for the next 2 years. He could still do that for another 10 years. I mean, maybe.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Smart with your money and things like that. So the thing I like for this contract for both sides is Ferland basically saying, okay, this is looking more like a top-level NFL contract. Mm-hmm. That he's basically saying, I want guaranteed money and I want a lot of it. And could they have could either side have pushed for more?
Probably.
I think so. Probably.
I mean, like realistically, Logan Ferland hits the open market. I imagine there's 9 offers on his desk the next day.
Oh, 100%. And from according to Hodge, in 2026, it's $255,000 we can hit. In 2027, $265,000. You'd have to think that those numbers, especially with the cap maybe going up, probably get closer to 300 if he hits the open market. So it's a win for everybody. He gets guaranteed money through 2027. God forbid something is to happen to him. He gets the guaranteed dough. The Riders have a mainstay on their offensive line as long as he stays healthy. So, and again, this is just Jeremy O'Day doing Jeremy O'Day things, right? Yeah. Identifying the guys, getting them here, right? You're never going to see O'Day make that big splashy free agent signing, but this year and beyond, when the Riders are shaping up to be a serious Grey Cup contender, it's going to be these signings getting these guys locked in and not letting them go to the open market that are going to be huge for this team.
Yeah, that's always been how Jeremy O'Day operates. Like even heading into free agency, like basically if he hasn't signed you by, let's say, mid-January, he's probably just, you're just not getting re-signed by the Saskatchewan Roughriders at this point. Or you're at least going to be on the open market for a little bit. You could potentially come back, but like by like early January, he's pretty much made his moves for the most part.
Yeah.
So he's getting a little bit of a head start this year, and I think with Logan Ferland, that move makes sense. I assume some of that money's probably moved into this year as well, which makes a lot of sense because the theory is, and I think at the Combine, every general manager was made available, and I think it was JC asked all of them about how they plan on spending the extra cap money should it exist, because apparently, yeah, as you alluded to, there are still questions as to whether the cap is actually going up as much as they say, which is totally a CFL thing.
Peak CFL.
But regardless,
peak CFL.
Jeremy O'Day was one of the guys who basically said for the regular season, the intention would be to spend to the what the cap was previously and then use that extra money, this is absolutely smart. And I assume, and the assumption is many GMs will probably do this, would be then to use that extra, whatever it is, $400,000, $600,000 in December to lock up the guys you want and bury a bunch of money in this year's cap, which is absolutely smart. If it's going up that much, it's like, okay, we know we can put together a good team on the 5.2 or whatever the cap was before. But if we have that extra an extra $400,000 sitting around in December, okay, here you go. Bonus. Now you're all on the cap for like $50K next year.
100%. Or if you're a serious contender and there's a guy coming back from the NFL that you really like.
So you have all kinds of flexibility to do anything you want. There are some GMs who have said they're just not going to spend it anyway, which is strange, but that's their prerogative, I assume.
I was having such a good day, Joel.
I didn't even mention any by name. There is more than one who have said it, so.
I know, but I know, but one of them happens to be the GM of my favorite team, and that's all.
So this feels preemptively like a little bit of that. It would be interesting to see if one of his bonuses is scheduled for December.
Certainly. Well, and even I love that. I've got the article from Hodge up right in front of me. He received a $40,000 roster bonus earlier this offseason under his old contract, and his new deal. And this is interesting. Is only $202 this year, plus bonuses and stuff, and then shoots up to $250 next year. So there might be some creativity even in that.
Well, I mean, you could restructure in December and give him
$100,000 and a roster bonus.
Yeah, you can give him a pretty good bonus then if you wanted.
Exactly.
So yeah, like guys like him and Trevor Harris. So this is one of those situations, slam dunk deal, makes sense to do it, and it's good timing, and it's just sort of a feel good story heading into the season for sure.
Absolutely.
This weekend, only at Macy's, it's our lowest prices of spring. How low? Diamond rings, pendants, and earrings, only $399, originally $1,500. Ninja blenders, now $89.99. And $395 men's designer suits, only $99.99. So if you're wondering why you should shop Macy's lowest prices sale, well, the name pretty much says it all. It's our lowest prices for one weekend only. Starts tomorrow at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.